This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Monday, the 10th day of May in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The controversy over the removal of more than 48 acres of mangroves from a West Demerara location to allow the construction of a shore-based facility for the oil sector took another twist this afternoon, as the Minister of Public Works, Juan Egil, defended the removal. At a hastily called press conference this afternoon, the Works Minister noted that the government takes issues of climate change and flood protection seriously, but added that Guyana is also preparing to become a major player in the oil industry, and as such, new infrastructure and facilities will be needed.
The PPPC, in its approach towards the development of the country, have said repeatedly, we will not be obstructionists, we will be facilitating. And we have facilitated and will continue to facilitate developmental projects once it comes in a framework where it is properly regulated, sustainable, where there is no danger to life and livelihoods, and where we could see the creation of jobs. And this project fits within that framework.
While praising the $100 million investment by the Guyanese owned company TriStar to build a facility on the west bank of the Demerara and provide more than 150 jobs in the process, Egil said part of the development plan will see concrete river defense structures being built.
Now, in that area where the shore base is being developed, apart from the mangroves, there is a sea defense structure by way of a dam. So there's the mangroves, and then there's a sea defense structure by way of a dam. In the engineering design, which is now on the board, all of the red that you are seeing in that drawing represents hard structures that will be built to mitigate flooding and to protect that property and all the properties at the back of it, near to it, or far away from it, from any flooding by way of putting in hard sea defenses.
Some West Demerara residents have expressed worry about the removal of the mangroves and the impact that could have if a flood comes. Mr. Egil said the government will continue to engage the company on its development plans. More news coming up in just a moment.
Guyana, we've been through it all.
But as a people we have
weathered every storm
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
Regardless of race,
class or religion.
We
are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
I'm Ron Robinson. I took the vaccine because, you see, I want to protect myself. And at my age, and even those younger than I am, over 40, take the vaccine. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get COVID, but it means I ain't going to go into ICU. I'm not going to be seriously ill with COVID. And it is more than likely it will not take me to my grave, because I got a vaccine in me that says it won't and will help me to be immune to it and keep it down. So I'm telling you, please, let's fight it. Let's attack this pandemic. Not just say, I'm not going to get it. You can. So attack it, not just, take precautions. Attack it. Take the vaccine. I'm telling you, it can save you a lot of worry, and your relatives as well, and your friends.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
At Sash Financial, we create strategies for strengthening business and personal finances while helping our clients to build sustainable wealth. Our financial and business consultancy services are uniquely tailored to ensure every client receives quality packages and optimal results. Our financial services include financial reporting and analysis, financial status assessment, internal audits, bookkeeping and records management, financial planning advice, tax returns. Our business advisory services are related to business plans, business startups, operational improvement, business management, document preparation, procedures development, efficient marketing. Call or WhatsApp us today for your free consultation on telephone number 592-665-6045. Sash Financial, strengthening businesses, building wealth.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong, be the one to live right.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
Welcome back. Opposition leader Joe Harmon led a team of opposition parliamentarians to the west bank of the Marara, where a private developer has cleared mangroves to construct a shore-based facility. Concerns were raised after the developer cleared a large section of the mangroves on the riverbank. Residents are fearful that they could now face floodwaters because of the businessman's decision. The mangroves serve as a natural defense against the tides. Opposition leader Joe Harmon said the project should be halted.
We have read what the chairman of the Sea Defense Board has said, that is Brigadier Beaton, and he is saying that the destruction of the mangroves here, it has gone beyond the acceptable limits. Now, if that has happened, then there is really no conversation to take place other than the project should be stopped. The project should be stopped until such time that mitigation has taken place, that they have put things in place to prevent properties on this side of the river from being flooded at a high tide. And this is what is going to happen under no circumstances over here.
Mr. Harmon said the clearing of the mangroves could significantly impact the livelihoods of residents on the west bank.
This is really a disaster. An environmental disaster, a security disaster, a disaster for the persons who are living on the West Bank, in the areas, Malgritu, Sconard, Port-Join, and all of those villages alongside where this destruction is taking place. I believe that what has happened here is a symbol, it's an example of the kind of disregard which we now have for human life and human safety on the altar of development.
He said while the country should welcome development, that development should not take place in such a way that the lives of citizens are at risk.
I believe that development is important for us, but it must not be done at the expense of the life and the livelihood of people in these communities. These are, by and large, rural areas. These are rural people. And so they will not have had the opportunity of actually seeing what has taken place here. And so they don't understand the disaster that is going to be falling if this is allowed to continue. They don't understand it.
The government of Guyana is in full support of the project by the local businessman. 2 more COVID-19 related deaths were recorded today, pushing the total number of deaths to 237. In the past 9 days, the country has recorded over 1,100 new cases of the virus and 28 deaths. It is the largest number of new infections and deaths to be recorded in such a short period. This past weekend, 13 deaths were recorded. There are calls this evening for the government to strengthen its response to curbing the spread of the pandemic. The opposition has lambasted the government for the current situation with the virus, while calling for there to be lockdowns in the hotspot areas. Guyana today received 38,400 COVID-19 vaccine doses through the COVAX facility. The shipment is the second delivery for Guyana from the COVAX facility and adds to the first shipment of 24,000 doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. Guyana is expected to continue receiving doses until it reaches 100,800, the amount of doses specified by COVAX for Guyana at this time. According to the Ministry of Health, Guyana is one of 10 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean that are receiving vaccines at no cost through the COVAX Advanced Market Commitment. The government said a new shipment of COVID-19 vaccines will strengthen Guyana's national COVID-19 vaccination program, which is currently open to all eligible adults 18 years and older.
August quite well for Guyana. We remain committed to multilateralism, and we want to continue along this trend. We see this as an important lesson being learned globally, and we would only hope that once we get past this pandemic, that the world would be more united, stronger, and that we look at other issues that we may need to address, given the fact that in the developing world there's still a disparity between us and the developed countries. And I think this pandemic would have brought us even closer, recognizing that we all can be affected, whether it's a health crisis, whether it's an economic crisis, whether it's any other ills that comes with the globalization phenomenon.
About 32% of the adult population in the country has already received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The country is hoping to achieve herd immunity by the end of 2021 as it continues the fight against COVID-19. Let's tell you now that Attorney General Senior Counsel Anil Nandlal has filed submissions in the Court of Appeal to strike out the appeal by the petitioners in the Election Petition Case 99, who are seeking a reversal of the Chief Justice's decision to dismiss that petition. The Attorney General's contention is that a Court of Appeal does not have the jurisdiction to hear and determine the matter. Chief Justice Roxanne George back in January threw out Petition 99 on the grounds that the petitioners failed to properly serve the second named respondent, former President David Granger, in compliance with the law. The petitioners appealed the ruling, arguing among other things that the Chief Justice erred in law and misdirected herself by misapplying the doctrine of strict compliance and holding that such compliance related to the contents of the affidavit of service instead of the filing of the affidavit of service in a timely manner. Mr. Nandlal in his submission said the Chief Justice was guided by several authorities from various common law jurisdictions, which set the foundation of the law on the issue. To this end, he submitted that the Chief Justice's decision was sound in law. Further, the Attorney General said it is clear that when the High Court's exclusive jurisdiction conferred by Article 163 of the Constitution is activated and exercised, and the determination is made, appeals against such determination is exclusively governed and regulated by provisions contained in the article, as there is no other provision in relation to that article. He argued that while the article provides for an appeal on substantive issues, the Chief Justice never dealt with such issues when she threw out the petition. The petitioner's contention is that the elections were unlawfully conducted and or that the results, if lawfully conducted, were affected or might have been affected by unlawful acts or omissions. The APNU-AFC coalition has repeatedly said that once the petition is heard, it can prove the case that the March 2nd elections were not credible. While opposition leader Joe Harmon has expressed concern over recent announcements that the International Republican Institute will be spearheading an 18-month project to help overhaul Guyana's electoral system. The project has the full backing of the U.S. Department of State. A statement from the local U.S. Embassy said through the project, the Elections Commission, the Attorney General's chambers, and civil society organizations will collaboratively consolidate and improve local electoral and constitutional law knowledge and establish an internal timeline to address electoral reform. The announcement has since caused unease in the opposition camp. The opposition is of the view that any attempt to reform Guyana's electoral process should see opposition being consulted as a major stakeholder. Mr. Harmon said APNU-AFC coalition represents close to 50% of the Guyanese electorate, and the announcement has caused considerable unease and anxiety in that segment of the population. He said the APNU-AFC coalition fully supports electoral reform in Guyana, but they are of the view that this has to be done in full consultation with the opposition. While CARICOM has once again thrown its full support behind the ongoing judicial process at the International Court of Justice to bring a peaceful resolution to the Guyana-Venezuela border row. During the 24th meeting of the Council for Foreign and Community Relations of CARICOM, the leaders pointed out that the process will bring finality to the issue, and they urged Venezuela to take part in the process. The CARICOM officials said they have noted Guyana's commitment to the process. Guyana has begun to prepare its memorial for submission on the 8th of March next year, in accordance with the schedule set by the International Court of Justice to hear the case on the merits of Guyana's application concerning the validity of the arbitral award of 1899 and the related question of the definitive settlement of the land boundary between the two countries. Venezuela has in the past rejected the court's involvement in the matter, noting that the court does not have jurisdiction to hear and determine the matter. Venezuela is claiming Guyana's oil-rich Essequibo region, arguing that the 1899 arbitral award, which settled the border matter, is null and void. The controversy was settled in 1899 after more than 50 years when a tribunal found that Essequibo rightly belongs to Guyana. 4 members of the Guyana Defense Force, a police officer, and 2 civilians were taken into custody yesterday morning after they were nabbed at a private party early in the morning at Port Royne in West Demerara in contravention of the COVID-19 guidelines. The party was hosted by one of the GDF ranks. The police said when they arrived on the scene, a number of persons fled. During the arrest of the GDF ranks and an off-duty policeman and the civilians, one of the civilians kicked the back windscreen of the police vehicle, shattering it in the process. Charges are to be laid shortly.
My name is Kian Jabour, and I'm from a new and united Guyana. I'm very pleased to say I just got my first dose of the Sputnik COVID-19 vaccine. I feel extremely good. The vaccine was no pain at all, and I have to encourage everyone to please come out and get it. The COVID pandemic is getting much, much worse in Guyana. It's all of our responsibility to keep each other safe.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive!
Across the region tonight, let's begin in Dominica, where the Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Port Authority says several stringent measures are being put in place to ensure that the coronavirus pandemic does not severely affect the island's cruise ship season, which opens in June. The official said the Port Authority is working to limit the contact cruise ship visitors will have with the local population. Dominica on Friday reported that it had no cases or deaths linked to the virus, and that the 175 cases registered since the first case was detected in March last year have all recovered. The official said until the all clear is given by the health authorities, people will be allowed to come off the vessels, but they will have to be screened, and if the persons don't meet with those requirements, they will have to go back on board the ships. In Mexico, hundreds of persons have gathered in Mexico City to protest and demand justice for those who were killed when a metro overpass collapsed last week. Demonstrators converged from around the city and held a vigil at the site. At least 26 people died and dozens more were injured in the collapse, which happened on an elevated track with a history of safety concerns. The authorities have promised to carry out a full investigation. Anger has grown after details emerged that suggested successive warnings about the safety of the elevated tracks were ignored by officials. There were concerns about design problems and construction standards, as well as allegations of corruption. The line was also closed for more than 18 months over apparent structural faults. And finally tonight, international news. The bodies of at least 40 people have washed up on the banks of the Ganges River in northern India, officials have confirmed. The discovery near the border between the states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh was confirmed to the BBC earlier today. It is not clear how the bodies came to be there, but local media reports suggest that they may be COVID-19 victims. Some media reports say as many as 100 bodies have been found, and that their condition suggests they may have been in the river for several days. One official said that there is a possibility that the bodies have come out of the Uttar Pradesh, a local official told the BBC. He said the remains would be buried or cremated. Officials said the bodies appear to be bloated and partially burnt, and that they may have ended up in the river as part of the practice of cremating victims of coronavirus along the river Ganges. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.